Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's time for your questions. So go ahead and unmute yourself, type in, go ahead and fire away.
Oh, Laylee, you must have a question. Come on now.
I know you guys play off each other, so
I thought I thought you were gonna go first.
No, you go first today.
Okay then. Hi. Okay, yeah, I have quite a few. Okay, let's start with like a super basic one.
Sure.
When we're talking about, storing essential oils,
Yes.
so you want to put it in like cool, dark place, obviously. But something that came up on the, when was it? Saturday was the class. Did we have yeah, Saturday's class. Okay, so towards the end of the day, somebody was asking about the essential oils and putting them like next to your cell phone. And I was kind of wondering, yeah, so I'm kind of wondering what are we, because I mean, realistically, yes, my oils that are in like different boxes sometimes stand, by my computer, my phone, because I work in
I wouldn't worry about that too much. Like I just wouldn't do it like excessively, or like even like where I do my computer stuff, I have several oils that's right there. I've never really noticed that. I think super prolonged periods of time, it might do something, but the biggest thing is direct sunlight and then fluctuations of temperature. And so, like, in the old days, there was this trend, how like in everything, there's like a trend for a while, and then after the trend's done, they go, oh yeah, this is why we shouldn't do that. It's one of those things. There was a trend to keep the citruses in the refrigerator. And people thought, well, they'll last longer. Because the thing is like with citruses, after 5, 6 years, they'll start to become acidic. And, they still work. They just, you don't want to put them on your skin after that. And so there was this trend for a while that people were putting them in the refrigerator and actually taking them out of the refrigerator and then having them out for a little bit and then sticking them back in. That fluctuation of temperature caused the oils to go bad at a much quicker rate. And then the other issue was that because they're in the refrigerator, sometimes there would be condensation and water would get in the essential oil bottles. And that would also make the oils go bad at a much quicker rate. So, I mean, just like kind of practical things, like it doesn't have to be a super dark room, like, just not direct sunlight and, especially like the light of a room, doesn't do it. Like the bottles that things are stored in, protect them from a certain degree of light, but even direct sunlight, it's the intensity of the sunlight, but it's also the heat. And the sunlight will make the oils dissipate, even like if they're in the bottle. So like you might start off with 5 mils and you leave it in the car and you come back and there's only 3 mils left. Some of it evaporated actually in the bottle, because the heat got so high. And so, I mean, it's usually not that extreme, but it can happen. And so, keeping away from radiation, I mean, anything that's good, but I mean, a cell phone, a computer, even if you're traveling and you go through an X-ray machine or something like that, a couple of times, not that big of a deal. If I mean, most things that come in the country from outside sources have been X-rayed by customs. So by the time that I get them, maybe not everything's been X-rayed, but to a certain extent, because customs gets worked up about not what's inside the bottle, but the bottle itself. So
Mm.
the oils come in these like kind of, it's a special kind of like aluminum bottle. And customs gets really worked up about those aluminum bottles. So I've been interrogated many times, and it's they just want to know what it's all about and everything. But anyway, I mean, I could ramble for a while,
Okay.
but yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, because I was like,
Yeah.
let me just double check that.
You
And
know,
they're
'cause
always in like cases. So
like for us, like when we travel, like when we're traveling, I have suitcases that are a bit more protective than normal suitcases. And then on top of that, like if we're traveling, there's not a whole lot I can do with them on the flight, but because you got to check bags. But when we're traveling, I'll have a suitcase or two full of oils for classes or something like that. And every night I pull them and take them in just to keep the temperature from fluctuating, you know. And so like, I just do little things like that. And so I would say like, if you're traveling and you're running into a store for a half hour, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't leave them in the car all day, unless you're in there running the air conditioner or the heater or whatever it
Mhm.
is, depending on the temperature. If it's fine for you, it's fine for the oils. And so,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. So I'm just recently, like I'm working with somebody and it was she has multiple issues, but one of them, she just mentioned that she has a history of concussions. So exhaustion, and she can't open her eyes, disassociation, basically everything that's pointing to a Ming Meng thing, adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
And
How old
my
is she?
thought was,
How old is she?
probably mid-30s. And there's some trauma,
Okay,
abusive
there's
relationship, sexual trauma. Yeah,
okay.
there's,
Okay.
yeah.
Because like I mean some of those symptoms also sound like a cardiovascular issue. But I mean even
Mm.
dissociation is a bit of a cardiovascular issue. But anytime you see somebody like really fatigued and having a hard time open their eyes, you know, yes, it could be psychological, but you also like, ugh, is there something going on with the heart, But
Mhm.
given that history, it's probably, like you said, more psychological. So
And she used to be an athlete, so she said she had like a bunch of concussions. So it's something that she's been dealing with for a while.
a bunch of what? Concussions? Yeah, concussions.
She had, yeah. So, and
Yeah.
she used to
I
be
thought you
an
were saying
athlete.
percussions. I was like, oh, she was an
Oh, yeah,
athlete and
no.
a drummer. Like my brain was trying to figure that out. I was
She's a musician now, but yeah.
like, right.
Um, so yeah, so I already mentioned to her before that you can use like Lang Lang for, she has some physical pain just to relax a little bit. And now I was thinking like sage and probably basil internally, but
Yeah. I mean, those are all good choices. But like you said, there's a lot going on here. So she has fatigue. She has a hard time keeping her eyes open. Like when you talk with her, does she close her eyes when she talks?
no, she's fine. She mentioned that it's something that happens only when she's overstressed. Like when she's more stressed and more exhausted, then she's feeling all of these things. But
Okay.
overall she's fine. And then she has like a finger injury that flares up because it's an emotional thing. Her body tends to be tight. And she has been dealing with emotional stuff recently.
Okay. So I would say a couple of things. You're right on the mark with the dissociation. But I would say, anytime you're treating dissociation, the big thing you want to do is treat the arms and legs. By treating the arms and legs, it helps to strengthen the basic. But part of what it does in cases of dissociation is it helps to regulate the Ming Men. And so that component, you could do it with. I like to use vetiver. vetiver, spikenard, valerian. What else would work?
So would you
But
do
but
it?
on the arms and legs, like they could dab it on the joints, or they could rub a tonic on the arms and legs. But you want to get it on the legs pretty often, like a couple times a day. A lot of times what I do is I have, for something like this, is I have them put like a vetiver um like body tonic on. And I like that because it dries, and people are more likely to put it on consistently versus something that's oily. You know what I mean? Like if it's an ointment,
Yeah.
they'll use it, but they'll like, oh, I had nice clothes on, I didn't want to put the ointment on. Where the body tonic, it dries in 30 seconds and you're good. I'd have her do that, and then I would dab mugwort on the joints, or have her inhale mugwort on the arms and legs, the joints of the arms and legs. And that will start to diminish the dissociation. And then you can start treating the things that come up. Because, that's the other thing about dissociation that I haven't talked about very much. But when somebody's dissociating, basically, which means like checking out, it's harder to release those traumas. You are able to release what you can kind of connect to, and release with whatever method you're using. And when a person's dissociating, you don't really get to access it like you would just a person who's just sitting there, relaxing and doing whatever. And so really, for a deeper healing, that would be necessary. And then the helichrysum will be good for releasing traumas. But I like the idea of ylang, because it will move some of the energy up from the lower centers, and it will also, like you said, calm the body, especially if it's physical or emotional, mental pain. Good combo there. Sometimes I also give them either a couple drops of galbanum internally, or a couple drops of myrrh internally on a daily basis. I like that, just because the body perceives emotional pain a lot like how it perceives physical pain, and so the effects are very similar. And if you're going through and dealing with these things in the past, or she's, having to live with those things, it makes it a little bit easier when you kind of take the edge off a little bit. I mean, the galbanum or the myrrh is not going to heal it, but it will make it more manageable so that you can do the other things that you can do. I would say the transmutation of the when you do, like, you do the sexual transmutation, when you do sex, front heart, front throat, crown, you're transmuting unconscious desire. When you go sex, back heart, back throat, crown, you're transmuting attachments. Like when they're attachment, meaning not like cords, like they're clinging to something, they're clinging to some experiences, or they have a story or a dialogue inside, or they're clinging to just feeling good and not feeling anything bad, something like that. The desires, it's not so much about desires of they want to do this, they want to do that. Like you can boil it down to like three base like desires. One desire is just to be soothed or comfortable, like pleasure. It's like a pleasure drive. And then one is the desire to have certain experiences, whatever they are. So one's a drive to have experiences. Another desire is the drive to avoid experiences. And so sometimes when there's been abuse, though one of those two usually gets tweaked. Like they seek out and have like a lot of certain kinds of experiences, or they'll like avoid certain kinds of interactions and experiences with people. And so the desire part you transmute it through sex, front heart, throat, front throat, and crown. The clean or the attachments, that would be the same, but on the backside. And so, yeah.
So you would do that what, inhaling the oils, or do that with
Yeah.
pH?
Like, let me tell you, I can give you a list of oils here.
And I worked on her. I did a couple of pH sessions with her, and it worked. Like, she was very receptive, and I also cleaned some of the trauma from the spleen.
Okay, so for attachments, the first is like sense and like pleasure, like this, like sensory attachments, that's acacia. And then there's, I'm doing this from a Buddhist point of view. It says all views. All views just means like opinions, ideas, concepts, things like that. That would be poplar. And then there's this kind of attachment that, in Buddhist, they in Buddhism, they describe it more about the Buddhist practice, but it's basically the idea that, oh, if I do something, it's going to resolve all my problems. Like, you'll get somebody that will say, oh, if I make it in my industry, it's going to solve all my problems. Or if I do this one thing, it's going to resolve everything. There's like this idea that something's going to be resolved by like avoidance, but doing something else that they like, or some other thing they're pursuing in their world. It's just like how people will think that they're successful in business and that makes them right, or that makes them spiritual, or that makes them, because they're successful in one area, they think they're successful across the board. You know what I mean? And so it's that idea. Like, it's a kind of a attachment, or a series of attachments. And then self-doctrine, which is just like all your stories. We all have stories. And excuse me, the third one is tuberose, and the self-doctrine is sandalwood.
Okay.
And these are all for attachments?
Yeah, different kinds of attachments. Yeah.
Okay. So then tuberose, and the last
and
one
then
was
the desire, like there's a sense, like pleasure, desire. That's ginger lily. And then the avoidance, avoiding experiences is vetiver or ruscus. And then the having experiences is aloes.
So then you would do these oils with the pattern, with either of these two patterns.
I mean, trauma is still going to come up, but the thing is like, a lot of times I talk about these things like in classes, like in layers. And, if you really boil it down, you could say there's kind of like a intellectual way to approach it, and then there's an intuitive way. And really, when you come to the intuitive way, it really is just about going into intuition, and these things will start resolving themselves. But I find that it's helpful that people go through intellectual like processes for a little bit, because sometimes when you make a shift in intuition and the intellect doesn't quite understand what's happening, they're less likely to integrate it or believe it. Like, you know what I mean? They'll like go, I don't know. And so when you're going at it in the point of intellect, you might make them feel better, but you're not going to resolve it. Like, you are going to make it better somewhat, but at some point they're going to feel like we've reached a dead end. I've reached a glass ceiling. I'm frustrated. It's not getting better. And then in that moment, you can move them to intuition. I used to take them right into the intuitive state. And some people would integrate it, but most people would almost like go out and re-traumatize themselves. Like it was when I say they re-traumatize themselves, like their intellect or their mind would double down on the story. You know, like it's hard to explain, but you know, one of the ways that I used to deal with that in therapy is, you know, it's like when you're doing sessions with somebody and you go, how do you feel? And they go, really don't feel anything. And then you go, well, how's your breathing? And they'll go, oh, it feels deeper. How's your shoulders? Are you still touching your ears? No, they're actually kind of relaxed. How's all that anger? Yeah, it's not really there anymore. You know, like you almost have to ask them questions so that they understand what's happening, because otherwise they'll go, yeah, I really don't feel anything. Or, you know, I just feel a little better. But then when you go, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? You know, you go down the list, then they'll go, oh yeah, I guess I do feel better. And so that's not really for the therapist. That's for the client or patient, whatever you want to call it, for them to like get it in their brain, kind of, you know, get the intellect. Oh, wow, something did happen. You know, I have this family member that, like, whenever I would do a healing on this person, you know, they would be debilitated, like their back or something would just be, and I'd do a healing for like an hour and a half, and I go, how do you feel? And they go, man, I feel so amazing. It was probably that apple I ate, you know, like a couple hours ago or something. And I was like, I just spent like an hour and a half, had you in oils, like all these things. And they were like, yeah. But for them, the brain didn't register what was happening. And so the healing still happened, but like they were trying to make sense out of it. And it was like, you know, all these things, I don't know, but that apple, like that was real. And so they would say the apple, you know. And so you know, as much as that's there, over the years, I stopped trying to wrestle with that, and I just like I engage it. Like, you know, if that's what they need for a little bit, I give them that. And you know, you're still kind of prepping things to be able to go deeper. And so, you know, I would do some form of that, however that looks. And I would say it looks different from patient to patient or client to client. No, it's not always going to be the same, but
And thank you. And yeah, with this one, it's interesting because she's more receptive and she's open to different things, which makes it easier. But what I'm wondering about are two things. One, really, if I'm combining that with pH, then I mean, I cleaned the arms, I cleaned the legs, I cleaned the trauma, then really adding those patterns to clear out more things.
say that
Like
again.
same thing. So when I'm working with pH, doing these patterns to clear out like the sex, front heart. Okay. And the other, and then
like clean the arms a lot. Like clean the arms a lot.
Okay.
Like anytime there's any sort of dissociative, checking out, not feeling present, whatever that is, it's arms and legs. It's always arms and legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I did EV on all the minor of the arms and the legs. Yeah. And then so because the reason that I was thinking about basal internally is because I was thinking brain.
Yeah, I
which,
mean,
like cognitive.
in increasing the cognitive function is good. The thing that I like to target with that is you remember the astral projection blend?
Yeah.
Do the Moses technique, and part of what that does with that, and you can just do the regular version, like heart, navel, crown, or back, heart, navel, and crown is actually a little better. That actually hits the thalamus, and which is this like processing center in the brain. And when you hit that combined with the arms and legs, it significantly reduces dissociation. Significantly. The thing with astral projection, that blend, is it generates movement out of the emotional patterns. And so what starts to happen is, even in the emotional body, we get like these loops, like how like you get a repetitive thought in your mind, we get these repetitive emotions that are tied to physiological functions. Sometimes they'll say lower emotions. In the old days, we used to call them homeostatic emotions. Or homeostatic responses, I think maybe is what we used to say. And those can have a loop as well. And the the astral projection generates movement where you almost like walk away from those emotional patterns. And so, sometimes the pattern might be like anger, or it might be sadness, or it might be fear. And so what happens is, because that emotional pattern's there, they don't do this consciously, right? So there's no talking them out of this. Like it's part of an emotional pattern. But what starts to happen is they start creating situations for that emotion to manifest. So you get somebody who's really angry, they'll create situations where they can really be angry, right? Or if somebody's feeling hurt or sad, they'll create situations where they really can feel the sadness or the hurt, and they're not doing it consciously. It's actually it's partially physiology and partial like emotional, just these emotional patterns. And astral projection is it's not that it breaks down the patterns, it's like you outgrow the patterns. Like you just go, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Like it's not like you're breaking it down and releasing it. You're like, that was so last year. Like, you know what I mean? They just, it's like they move past it, they grow past it, because astral projection is like a kind of expansion. And so what you're doing is you're expanding the emotions out of the emotional pattern. And then at some point they just go, yeah, that's kind of boring. I don't want to do it anymore. And that's golden. Like if you can get somebody there, that's golden, because they'll continue to work and walk away from that pattern way beyond the healing. And so, each person's a little bit different, because you come to each situation, and people have different upbringings, have different genetics, they have different viewpoints on how these things go down. They might be more in their head or more in their body, and so you get a feel for the client, and then you kind of realize, like, okay, this is the, I can focus more on energetics, or I can focus more on the emotion, or or man, like it's a bunch of repetitive things in their head that keeps generating the emotion, because that can also happen. But usually with like when they've had the background that you're talking about with abuse and things, it's usually in instinctive responses, which is down in the sex chakra and the navel, right? For that particular situation, more sex chakra than anything, and then the solar plexus. And so by working that pattern of the sex, heart, throat, crown, or the backside, anytime you work the heart, it manually makes the solar plexus release, and
Mhm.
the heart will transmute the emotional pattern, where the solar plexus, like you go through and clean it up and it's good, but until the solar plexus gets really I don't know the right word, let's say regulated, um it feels alive by the ups and downs. It doesn't really care that, hey, this is a good feeling or a bad feeling. It just likes the roller coaster ride. Like it just likes the roller coaster. And as much as you clean the solar plexus, which it needs to be clean, but it will clean it up. But all you're doing is cleaning it up for another day at the park, riding the roller coaster. You know what I mean? It's like, oh boy, that was a rough one. Clean me up so I can go ride again. Right?
Mhm.
Activating the heart starts to even out the solar plexus and regulate the solar plexus and makes the solar plexus let go of some of these things. That's why, like when people get in relationships and they start to fall in love, the heart gets activated, and then all of a sudden they start fighting like cats and dogs, or all these fears come up, or they start talking about the past. Is in that time the heart gets activated, and then the solar plexus starts to release, and all their baggage starts coming out. And so usually at some point, when two people are starting to engage a relationship, you can almost tell that it's more genuine. This sounds really weird, but it's because they have like some weird conflict that goes on, like some unresolved something, or they're in some area where they're not getting along. It's not because they don't like each other, it's happening because they like each other, and the heart activating makes it come to the surface. And so knowing that, if you can just spend time activating the heart, the emotional component will diminish. The ajna and the crown need to be cleaned up quite a bit, for like in those abuse kinds of things, for the repetitive thinking and stuff. The throat is actually a lot of the repetitive thought, but the throat is still a reflection of the crown. And so you, even when you clean the throat, you clean it up, but again, it just goes, okay, you know, the solar plexus likes the up and down. The throat likes the merry-go-round. Like it just likes to spin. Like, oh my God, it loves to spin. Repetitive thought, repetitive thought, repetitive thought, repetitive thought. What about this? What about that? Repetitive thought. And so by cleaning the crown, you kind of pull them off the merry-go-round. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
And some people will say, oh, it's the crown, you don't need to clean it. Some traditions say, oh, you don't have to clean the crown, it's the crown. It's the entry point for divine energy. The crown's usually filthy. Like it's not filthy like the way your lower centers are, but there's a lot of mm, there's a lot of like kind of a contamination of sorts that the crown will need to have cleaned up. It's almost like it's a byproduct of the lower centers. The lower centers are really like unregulated and not that clean. The crown is going to be not that clean. Yeah.
makes sense.
Going back to the dissociation, because really the main perpetrator, if we're going to call out a perp in this whole scenario, the main It's the basic chakra. Like the basic chakra is like, so a lot of times, if you look at like when you're working on somebody and the crown just won't activate, it's not a crown issue, it's actually a basic issue. And if you clean up the basic, the crown opens up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Like I
Thank you.
always like think of
And
it
then-
like, you know how we think about things like, oh, let's do this technique or that technique. And even like what I'm just saying, like, oh, do this transmutation process, do that transmutation process. That's all good. But, you know, when you start using intuition, it turns into more like tracking an animal, like through the forest, rather than I'm going to do this technique to you know, produce this result for this person. It stops about trying to be making something happen, and it's like you're either tracking dysfunction or you're tracking like the good side of them that you're trying to get them to be able to get back into alignment with. But so it's almost like you're constantly adjusting and adapting and evaluating whatever is presented in front of you. And if you do that, even if you do repetition for a while, like I mean, I had patients where I did, you know, techniques trying to get them to feel better, but knowing that like if I went like into what I was just talking about, they would have freaked out. Like there's no way, they weren't ready for that kind of a shift. So I would do healings on them. I would try to get them to feel better, but sometimes like I had a few where it was 5 or 6 years, and then they would go, okay, you know what, I think I'm ready. And then we'd get busy and they would make a lot of progress in a short amount of time. But had they not had that time of wrestling with it, it's almost like sometimes people want relief. I will say that people want relief, but people's perceptions of what's going to bring them relief is usually the bigger foe or the bigger obstacle than them, you know, not making effort or not wanting to get better or not being aware. It's just like preconceived ideas. And in trying to help somebody work through something like that, at some point they have a realization and they have a belly full of what's going on, and they're just like, you know what, I'm done, you know, help me with this. And when you get them like that, they take off. But you know, they really heal very, very rapidly. But it's like if they're not in that place and they're really stuck in the intellect, you almost have to go in and dance with them in the intellect and then slowly walk them out, because they're not going to just make the leap. So you just have to get in and go, okay, if this is how we're going to do it, we're going to do it this way for a little bit. And then just little by little, keep walking them towards more of those intuitive processes. Yeah. I know this is really vague, but I mean, if
No,
you're
it's any
if you're
and it
problem
makes
solving,
sense.
that's kind of what you're doing is
Yeah, and I say that
almost have to start with them where they're at and then work them out from there, instead of going, okay, this is what we're going to do, you know, because having a preconceived idea usually doesn't get very far. Like they don't stay. You're not seeing something accurate. It's a good place to start sometimes just to get a little dynamic going, but adapting each person's like approach, you know, people are in very, very, very different places sometimes, you know. I mean, you probably have even heard me like think of the org programming class. Sometimes people would ask me a stack for like the same thing, and I gave completely different answers. It's because each person was needing something different. Yeah.
Yeah. And
even
so,
though the issue's the same. They're
yeah,
just
but
in
each one
different
has their
places.
own.
Yeah.
And so one of my things about that is because really with this particular person came up like the idea of, using the oils internally.
Mhm.
So it's different when I'm telling somebody, do this pattern or use this oil on your body or whatever it may be. But when it's internal, how do you work with that? Like, are there some sort of like interactions with stuff that they're already taking? Is it probably like that's
Usually the
what I'm
stuff
kind
that
of wondering.
I talk about taking internal, because not all oils should be taken internal. And so, there's that
Right.
list of in the front of the booklet that kind of has a list of
Yeah.
um I made that list because I mean pretty much those are not going to interact with medications. And so you could kind of
Okay.
use that as like a guideline. Um, and so the things that I'd always be careful of are, I mean, St. John's wort, I think might be in there. St. John's wort, if you take a big enough dosage, it will drain medications out of somebody. And then grapefruit doesn't really
Yes, you
interact
mentioned that.
with allergy medicine or cardiovascular, certain cardiovascular meds. And so, other than that, as long as it's something that can be taken internal, you're probably okay.
Okay.
Especially we're doing really relatively small dosage. And
Okay.
so, you know, in extreme cases, the dosage is substantially bigger, and that's when it starts to become. That's why I don't even talk about that even on the Zoom. Like I just, 1 to 3 drops.
Yeah.
Even if they make a mistake,
Yeah.
most of it's going to be a bad taste in their mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for that, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you mentioned to do the Moses with the astral projection, so just even have that as I'm working on her, like later through that, and I can even do like some pH while she does that as well, or even
Yeah.
just by itself.
Like if you were going to start with somebody like this, I might not start off with astral projection. I would probably start off with like tarragon or like ylang, like you were saying, like things that are just
Okay.
kind of soothing, benzoin, kind
Yeah.
of soothe them for a little bit and just get things feeling a little better. And then little by little, I'd start working in
Yeah.
the
Then
bigger.
graduate to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And then
one that you wouldn't think of for psychological healing is bay laurel. But bay laurel, like I've been like going on and on about this behind the scenes, not on Zooms or anything, but um there's this thing that there's not really a psychological term for it. At least nothing that I've seen. But basically, I would just say, how the body degenerates, the mind can degenerate. And there's just this degenerative process that, will produce anxiety, it will produce fears, it will produce traumas, but it's just like a mind that like you could almost say the person's really fragile. You know what I mean? Not physically. It's like mental. Like they get traumatized really easy. They get offended really easy. They get triggered really easy. All the things happen like really super easy. And that is literally a mind that's degenerating. And one of the ways to pull them out is to use antivirals, but specifically like I use a combination of bay laurel and ravensara and boy, what is it? I can tell you exactly what I use. I mean, I even wear this sometimes just to keep the mind like it's an odd thing. It's not like it pulls you out of some spin. It just keeps the mind like fortified so that when you have difficulties, you don't like go to a weird place. Here we go. It's a blend of bay laurel, ravensara, rosemary verbena, cypress, sage, and myrtle. Very, very simple. Like, they're all very antiviral, and they're all, kind of even respiratory oils, and it's hard to do that with energy. You can, but it's hard to do that with energy. Sometimes it's just the consistent use of like antivirals. Melissa would also do it by itself. Melissa is very good for lower emotions, but it keeps the mind from breaking down because of wear and tear. Like that's what I would call it. Like, like a breaking down because of wear and tear, or just they had some bad experiences, or they grew up with people picking on them. It's usually something. They had a toxic work environment, but it also could be like abuse or something like that. And so, some people come out of it with like this like spirit of like, I'm gonna get better, I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna, do whatever. And some people are a little bit more broken. You know what I mean? There's trauma, but they're a little bit like kind of somebody broke them a little bit. And that blend is very fortifying to the mind, so that when you do start processing stuff, they can handle it. But somebody who's the mind is degenerating, even the idea of letting go of trauma almost becomes traumatic. Letting go of a fear almost generates fear. You help somebody get rid of anxiety, and the lack of anxiety makes them more anxious. That's it's almost like a flag of like that's a mind that's degenerating. Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't mean all fears are that. Doesn't mean all traumas are that.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you can watch them kind of like process or not process, and you can just like when you start to see it and you've seen it and recognize it once, you'll be able to pick it out in a room. Like, ugh. And I always feel very bad for somebody like that, because it usually means that either somebody or life really beat up on them pretty bad, pretty hard.
Yeah. Thank you. And then I have more questions, but I'll let somebody else. I just have
Okay.
one quick question. When we're talking about salt baths, obviously pH, you talk about it. So is that correct that there is an issue with somebody who has high blood pressure? It's an issue taking a salt bath? Is that
No,
correct?
there shouldn't be an issue. In fact, I've actually lowered people's blood pressure. Lowered people's blood pressure. When you ingest salt, it can raise blood pressure, but soaking it.
I heard that in a conversation, and I was like, that doesn't make sense to me, but I needed to double check.
No, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I've had the opposite, where people with high blood pressure, there's been a couple people that had high blood pressure, and they had very stressful jobs, and I was like, it's going to be like 6 weeks before I can get you in. And I'd say take a salt bath every night until I can get to you.
Yeah.
And then they'd call me in like in 2 or 3 weeks. They go, I don't need healing, my blood pressure is regular. Yeah.
That was my train of thought, and I heard something else which didn't. Yeah, something about like the salt, even in like a salt bath goes into the. But yeah, okay, never mind. That's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so
And
much.
and that's just like that's not just me saying that. I use blood pressure cuffs checking before and after, because like I did a whole thing where trying to treat blood pressure with oils in a salt bath, and seeing how much I could get a person's blood pressure to lower because of the salt bath. And so I had a big thing where I was doing blood pressure readings before and after, and I do not remember anybody's going up. It was always stayed even, lowered a little bit, Every once in a while, we get somebody who would drop substantially, but it never went the opposite direction.
Okay, that's what I thought. I had to
Yeah.
confirm because I
Yeah.
said didn't. Okay. Thank you so
You're
much.
so welcome. You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Chris, then Ollie.
Hey, Chris.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, Greg.
Hey.
Hey. I have a question on this new person I'm going to be seeing. So she's had some different forms of energy healing modalities, and she said she's had profound breakthroughs, but she's still feeling stuck where she's not seeing, how would I put this? Her external life hasn't shifted.
Yeah.
Internally, she's feeling better, but externally, it's not showing up yet.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you can help me tune into
Yeah.
the aura thing. Yeah.
Very, very straightforward. I mean, she needs more intuition. She's stuck in intellect, and
Yeah.
intellect maintains the pattern. Like it never resolves anything. So she might feel better, but the thing hasn't resolved because she's still stuck in intellect.
Okay.
Like you just need to, however you want to do it, like get her into the more intuitive state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any suggestions with starting protocol?
Three brains is always good. Doing materialization breath, you could guide her through that with or without oils. Doing a little bit of like Lama yoga, and then doing a little bit of healing on her, or have her inhale oils. But oils that are, any of those oils from the intuition and healing the past, those are the 14 aspects of intuition. So I mean, I would just start working those, but something like with what you're talking about, I would say probably like active imagination, paradox, the self, individuation. Working any of those should be helpful for let me look at one more thing here. I can
Okay.
dream processing, active imagination, dream processing, symbolism, and paradox would be the things that I would work on that person.
Okay, thank you. And initially, how would you recommend going at it for pH?
You started doing where you work the work programs on the like with energy?
I've not seen this person yet.
No, I'm saying when you do sessions, have you started trying to work the auric programs when you're doing energy sessions?
Yes, yeah.
Do the auric program like for intuition.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Ollie, then Linda.
Hey, Ollie.
Hello, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Fine. And I hope you can hear me because I'm with my phone. And
Yes.
I have a weird question.
Oh, I love weird questions.
Okay, sorry. It's about my client, one of my clients, that is trying to sell his house, his property, since 1 year and a half, and I did the pH feng shui and some other things to help this to happen. But it seems that customers came, look at the house, they say it's really good, but no one want to buy it, and I don't know how to move on, because I try everything. I try also to use the aquifer that are underground with some
Mhm.
water pump, and I did the heating on the drawing of the house.
Mhm.
It's really a big house because it's 1,000 meters of house
Oh, wow.
and 24,000 meters of not garden but
Wow.
outside. And so she she is a really and I'm really asking you, what can I do? I don't know what to do.
So do the materialization breath, and you can do like a little like adjustment, you know how you would sit and visualize the house, and you don't even have to visualize it like selling, but just put your awareness on the house, like sit and reflect on it. And then you know how we do it. You hold something in your heart and then you let go and then you start doing the materialization breath. So there could be a little like adjustment there, like focus on the house. Oh,
Yeah.
and you have a dorje, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah,
He has them all.
yeah. So take the dorje and focus on the house and point it down, like
Down.
you're blessing the earth, and focus, 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 and then just let go,
Okay.
and then focus on the house. Do it like 2 or 3 times, and then let go, like and move your hand like that. And then about the third time, do the materialization breath. And then you could repeat that process a couple of times. Yeah. That should
Okay.
help substantially.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Eric. And I
Even
can use.
even if you want to make it like, okay, this like, this house sells rapidly and properly and for the right money, you could do some little thing like that. If it helped your process. But if you just focus on the house and direct the energy down into the earth, and then awareness, and then focus, and then awareness, you do that like 2 or 3 times, and then do the materialization breath, and then repeat it a couple of times. It will juice that whole little scene up. Yeah,
Oh, great, thank you, Greg, thank you, because I was
yeah,
without any other option, and
yeah.
this is great.
And
And
then tell them when people are coming to look at the house to bake some bread or something. Break some bread or some cookies, or have chicken
okay,
in the oven so that somebody walks in and goes, ah, you know,
okay,
you know what I mean? Like
yeah, I
it
understand now.
works.
All right. And and do I have to use some specific oil for the materialization breath, or
Solomon's hyssop or hyssop.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
And then keep
And
me posted. Let me know how that
oh,
goes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, there is this other client I speak about maybe with you more than 1 month ago,
Mhm.
and she have a tinnitus. Tinnitus. I don't know
Mhm.
how to
Yes,
spell
yes.
it. Okay, and I'm doing heating on her pH,
Uh-huh.
and I'm using sage, as you
Uh-huh.
tell me, and also helichrysum, and
Okay.
I guide her in the breathing and in the patterns in the process, and the things start to going really good, but the tinnitus, I don't know how to pronounce that, tinnitus
Hmm?
go away for 3 days and then come back. And when
Okay.
he come back with the fire in the brain, in the crown. And I also see that the crown, every time the web of the crown is full. And I don't understand if these things come from outside or inside.
It's the Ming Men,
Okay.
but give me a sec here. Let me look at that. Okay, so it's the Ming Men, and the Ming Men will shoot excess energy up, and so that's the issue. But like what's causing the Ming Men to overactivate is there's some situation that's active that is causing, like, the Ming Men is for establishing order. Like, so like when we have a health issue in our body, something's going on in the body, the Ming Men overactivates a little bit to try to raise the vibration of the body, but it also does it for external things. And so there's some situation that is an active situation for this person that the Ming Men keeps overactivating because of the situation. And so you can have her inhale like blue healer or something and think of the situation, or just manually project a bunch of blue at that situation for like a long time, like 5 minutes. Like, and not light, like dark blue, like do like super dark blue, like not like medium to dark.
But, cobalt blue.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay. And
yeah.
I can suggest her to nail something for the Meng Mei when I did eating.
Yeah, if like you do that, the Mingmen will probably regulate somewhat, but then you can, if you want to just keep the blue will have like a healing effect on the Mingmen, but sometimes it might need to be cleaned out a little bit. And so to clean it out, use something like hyssop or Palo Santo, chakra root cleanser, and have them inhale it on the Mingmen and just blow that stuff out, or just manually go in and clean it.
Okay.
Yeah. But do it like after you've done the situation. And if the person's not sure, just go, okay, work, family, just like start breaking it down and have them hit like different situations. Because the issue is sometimes they might not be stressed out about it, but somebody externally might be super angry at them or super upset at them or grinding on them. And so it might not be something that's even in their awareness. And so when that's happening, you just have them start going, okay, family, work, friends, and then all of a sudden they'll go, oh, I start feeling better. It's like, that's the one.
Okay. Okay.
You can scan too. Like if you go, okay, your family, your friends, oh, work, ugh. Because you'll feel like there'll be an excessive amount of energy with whatever you scan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the.
You're so welcome.
Thank you really much, and I'm looking forward for the June class.
Oh yeah, me too. Well, I was
Celebrate.
playing with some of those oils last night. I was like, very nice. They're fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then go ahead, Linda, then Ralph.
Hey, Linda.
Hey, hi there. I have a
How are you?
non-oil. What's that?
I said, how are you?
Oh, great. Absolutely fantastic. All this org programming. I am a new woman. Great. But I have a question about who is Sandalphon? Like, I don't want about
Sandalphon
is that?
is Sandalphon is the twin of Metatron. So Metatron is of the crown and is of essence, and Sandalphon is actually considered a female angel. Angels usually don't have male or female, although they're portrayed most times like a little bit more masculine than feminine. But the reason even with that is like masculine energy is associated a little bit more with with essence, and female is associated more with form. And so the reason why Sandalphon is considered feminine is it's because it's the archangel of the basic chakra. So Metatron and Sandalphon are considered twins. And so the whole thing with the 7 layers of the aura is we're treating the structure of the aura. So we're treating more of the anatomy, and like, so let me look this up because I don't want to like add it in my head and then go, this is what we're doing, and then I like just miss.
Yeah, I'm really curious about like the angel herself, or like what she's like, or how she appears, or
There's not a lot of imagery about Sandalphon.
okay.
It's the angel of the form or the angel of the body, and it's the archangel that is associated with having your prayers heard and answered. Helps to facilitate the prayers. And so even like when you look for the sigils and things, and you like search for Sandalphon sigil, Metatron comes up, because it's really 2 sides of the same coin. So Metatron being masculine is bringing essence from the other side of the veil, and Sandalphon being the form or the body or the structure. And so you could say it's associated with homeostasis, regeneration, the effects of conditioning or just the conditioning aspect. And then I find working with Sandalphon and the 7 layers of the structure of the aura is very calming to the central nervous system. It helps the nervous system refine so that you can have like higher experiences. And so Sandalphon would be, how we use the Glory of Lebanon and Moses and chakra root cleanser and all those oils. I think sometimes I kind of say this and then I change the subject, but they're a byproduct of, they're actually all angel blends, and they're all aspects of a combination of Metatron, Sandalphon. And so, I don't talk about it like that because you can talk about them in a very practical way, but you're basically treating the structure or the anatomy when you work those 7 layers that we're doing on the weekend, the Sandalphon class. And when you invoke Sandalphon, it is about refining the form and making the form ready for essence and even helping the form to see or reach outside of itself. Because even in the act of prayer, the idea that angel helps to facilitate your prayers being heard when the structure is left on its own. And when I say structure, I also mean intellect. It is repetition, and it doesn't see outside of itself. And so even the act of structure or the intellect to start to even look a little bit outside of itself, that's the gift of Sandalphon right there. Like starting to go from like me. Oh, there's something else. There's divine, there's other people, there's experiences outside of what I keep having over and over again. That is the gift of Sandalphon.
Okay.
Does that help?
It does. And what about the image that you have for that class? Where did that image come from?
That really cool one. Let me.
It looks like a
Greg
giant
doesn't even
bird.
know. So yeah.
Looks like a giant bird with a girl. And
it's an eagle, like with that is a thing that it's in my photos from a long time ago. It was just some image that I saw. I was going down some rabbit hole of some shamanic things, some shamanic books and writings and things on the internet, and that image popped up. And it's just a painting that somebody did, and I was like, oh, that's amazing, and I saved it in my photos. And then when we were doing the class, I was like, oh, I know the photo I want to use. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, there's no big, like, it was just a photo that I had that I just, but the reason that I used it, I mean, because you see it's like an eagle with its hand on the shoulder of a person. And again, it's like essence touching form, or the eagle being the essence, because eagle, hawks, and owls are all in shamanic practices or indigenous practices associated with the messengers of God.
Right.
Like, so, for me, it just struck me as divine coming down and touching the person or touching the form. And so I was like, that's perfect for the Sandalphon class.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it this weekend. That'll be
Yeah,
great.
it's going to be fun. I've been cranking out, like, I'm putting in a bunch of explanations for all the, because like here we're talking about structure, and then like the work program, we talk about the program. And then when we did intuition and healing the past, there was the intuitive component. Here I'm putting in a bunch of anatomy for each of the 49. We're going to have techniques at the beginning, but then there's the 49 recipe book, but it's all specific to the structure. So like if you're treating a respiratory issue or a muscular issue, like you'd go to a particular layer and look at it. So cross-referenced it all, and then putting a bunch of anatomy, so like, okay, if I have an issue with my thyroid, where can I go to look? And where, so one thing might be the endocrine system, but there might be other places where you can go through and go, oh, the thyroid kind of shows up in a few of these places. So then you could treat different aspects, and then even work eventually the work programs based on this information, because there's the correspondence every step of the way.
Mhm.
So even the things that we'll do in this class, well, there will still be a correspondence to the work program.
Great. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Ralph, then Lolly.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Greg. Question for
Oh,
you on
sorry.
lactic acid flush.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most effective way to get it on the body? With a
Salt bath or with alcohol?
salt bath or alcohol? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But body tonic is good. I mean, you could still do it with an ointment. You could still do it with a lotion, but you kind of want it to go like deep into the tissues, and alcohol tends to take it a little bit deeper. Even though like an ointment will have a slow release in the area,
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of wanting it to penetrate as deeply as you can.
Okay.
And so alcohol is a better carrier, but a salt bath also very good. Yeah.
Okay. You were telling Lolly about the blend you do for mental
Yeah, the
cognitive
degenerative mind. Yeah.
degenerative mind. That's the blend and the name of the blend.
I don't even have a name for it. Like, honestly, if on my bottle it says Greg's blend.
So Greg's blend. Okay,
Greg's
that's
blend
cool.
is about psychological imbalance, and
Is that
I just do
is that
it.
a Freudian slip or
Yeah. No, that was a Union announcement.
Okay, Greg's blend.
So,
Great.
like what I notice for myself is that when I use it, like when you start to get tired, when you start to get fatigued, when you hit like a roadblock, when you don't have enough time to do all the things that you do,
Mhm.
the mind will perform for a while, but at some point it starts to feel stressed, and then you start having little weird issues, like
Yeah,
hard to
Professor, my brain is
concentrate.
full. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And I find that when I use that, it's not even that like I go, oh yeah, I can keep pushing. Like it never dawns on me. Like, yeah, like I'll stop and go, oh boy, that was a lot. and then I'll rest for 10 minutes and then I'm back into it. Where before it was like, if I hit that point where I'm like, I was just writing for the last like 3 hours, and Samantha watched me go like, whoa, 10 or 15 minutes, I gotta get on the Zoom. My brain's fried. And like 5 minutes later, I was like looking stuff up and starting to do things again. Where if I hadn't been using that consistently, when my brain was fried, yeah, I would have been done for the day. Like I would have been fine tomorrow, but like it's like, okay, I need rest. I need to, decompress and not think of what I was doing. And so I just find that it doesn't allow for the mind to degenerate like you would think. And so like this is the little formula I'm using, but you can do it with things that are antiviral that also impact the mind. So, here I'm using, what did I say it was? Bay
Laurel, Ravensara, rosemary, verbena, cypress, sage, myrtle.
Right. Sage, myrtle, and was there another one? I think that's all of them.
There was
And-
6 of them they mentioned.
Yeah, 6. Perfect. But you could also use Melissa. You could also use like Eucalyptus radiata. You could also use St. John's wort might do it. The only problem I would say with St. John's wort is that if you have any medication or herbs or something, you're isn't able to drain that stuff out.
Yeah.
So like I tend not to go there unless you really, really need it with somebody.
But Melissa blend by itself will
Yeah.
provide
Yeah.
somewhat of the same.
Yeah, well, it does the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that an inhale or apply to the wrist or rollerball?
I apply it to the wrist, like I put 3 or 4 drops on. Like
Okay.
Melissa, I would take internal.
Okay.
But the other ones, I put 3 or 4 drops on the wrist. I inhale it a couple times, and then I just go about my business.
Mhm. Okay.
Neoli would be another one.
And that again would be on the wrist?
Yeah, on the wrist, inhale it a little bit. Every once in a while, if I feel like I'm really pushing, I'll put a few drops on my chest, but
Okay.
the wrist gets it.
All right.
If I'm really feeling, especially like I've really been pushing, or I've been pushing and I know I'm about to travel or something, I'll take a salt bath in it. But because the thing that what you're doing with the antivirals is you're also helping the body not degenerate, and by doing that, you're also helping the mind not degenerate. So it actually is not just for the mind, it also would slow down degenerative processes in the body. Like any sort of like antiviral or nervine, something that's really good for the nerves would be good for the brain and slowing down the degenerative processes of the body. You know what else would probably do it?
Antiviral or nervine.
Yeah. You know what else would probably do it is Monarda. I would almost bet that Monarda does it. I haven't used Monarda like that, but Monarda would probably do it. Thyme, different kinds of thyme would probably do it.
I
Yeah.
know I got some time.
Yeah.
I know I have Melissa. I think I have Neoli.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
might
most
have
of those are
Monarda.
super fortifying to the immune system. Like a lot of times when you see, like if there's fatigue, I mean, the first thing I look at is the immune system. The second thing I look at is the endocrine system. The third, I usually look at the nervous system. And then if that doesn't resolve it, then I start like trying to evaluate. But usually by those 3, you've nailed the fatigue, like whatever it is. Yeah.
All right. All righty. Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Let me know how that goes.
Oh, yeah, one other thing. It's been over 100 degrees every day here for the past 7 days.
Ah.
I am having some swelling in my left foot. All right. What can I put on my foot to help the blood flow in my left side?
So you're just having it in the one foot?
Yeah, there may be some in the right, but mostly it's in the left.
More in the left. So when it's hot, are you perspiring?
No, not
That's the
particularly.
issue. Right, that's the issue.
Okay.
So, um, like you have a little bit of helichrysum.
Yes.
Try just putting some helichrysum like on your wrists and on the tops of your feet.
Okay.
And if it doesn't make you start perspiring, then take a salt bath in it. Like,
Okay.
or like put it in alcohol and rub it on the body. But basically what happens is you get like a form of, there's a medical term for it. I can never remember what it is, but it's
Mhm.
basically skin congestion.
Yeah.
And so because the skin is not perspiring, you
Mhm.
start to retain fluid and you'll start to retain it like in your limbs and things like that.
Okay.
And so you just got to get open up the skin. If you want to go a little bit deeper and have a little bit more of a fluid release, like lovage or juniper,
I got
or
Lovage.
even
I got
yeah,
Lovage body
perfect.
tonic.
Yeah.
Lovage body tonic where?
But start, I'd rub it on your legs and maybe on your abdomen or back.
Okay.
But I would start with the helichrysum first, break up the
Okay.
congestion in the skin, and
Yeah.
then the other part. Yeah.
Okay.
Like maybe a day or two later or something.
Okay.
But heat can do that. Like heat,
Yeah.
heat can even cause the skin congestion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. Thank you.
Yeah. Keep me posted though.
All right. I'll let you know how this is going.
Okay.
And go ahead, Lolly, then Chris.
Hey, Lolly.
Hello again.
Hee.
So, Sandalphon, since Linda just talked about it, I was wondering, I'm actually doing the recap this week to be ready for the class this weekend. So it's really fun. Thank you. What I'm wondering about when we're doing pH, which layer of the aura are we working on?
You're just kind of doing general. And the thing, like, like we kind of see the aura, like if this is the body, we think of the aura as like there's a layer, 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 there's a layer. And there are aspects that are like that. But when you're talking about the layer here, you're dealing with a layer, then a layer, then a layer, then a layer, then a layer. So it's almost like there is the like levels of density in the energy field. So it like when you're just working the aura manually, it depends on the kind of energy and how refined the energy is that you're using and how penetrating it will be to the aura to pull things off. And so the more that the person, be it the patient or the healer, is in intellect, the less you'll be able to address in the aura, in this part of the aura, in the structure. So the more that the healer can be in a more intuitive state, the more penetrating it is and the more that you'll cover. So like what I have you guys doing in this is this class is going to be very different than the first. Did we teach this twice or once? I think we taught it twice.
I
Right?
think twice as well.
Yeah. So it will be very different than what we've done before. And so what I have is each of the layers, I have what it will impact, like the anatomy that it will impact. And so what I'm going to have everybody do is like we'll go through and we'll work it without doing the reflection, but then the reflection will be, okay, I'm going to work layer 7. What does that really impact? Okay, it impacts the respiratory system, it impacts the sinuses, it impacts the endocrine system, and then it impacts the adrenals. And then I'm going to have the person, you guys just like sit and reflect on it and then inhale it. And the reason is the reflection starts to make you go more into the intuitive state and doesn't limit what the process is doing. Like intellect will actually limit the process, because it's like a preconceived idea. So then wherever you direct the energy, it's only going to what the intellect is perceiving or think is going to happen. And so it's almost like letting all of that go so that you can really work the anatomy. Because here with with the 7 layers in the Sandalphon class, you're working the anatomy, like you're working the structure of everything, even if it's like the emotions or the mind or intuition, it's still like the structures of what it is. And then later essence will come in. So the more that you clean up the structure, the more essence can come in and the more that the structures can harness the essence. And so by going through and doing this process, you'll start to produce, especially if you're tapping into intuition, you'll start to produce results before you even go to the body or the chakras or whatever. Like the body will start kicking off the dirty energy from the structures. And so one of the things that I've done in years past is, I mean, it's with energy, you have to use like more imagery rather than your intention. And so when I would go through and I'd work the layers, I'd look at the body and see what came out, like where the person's congested. And I was like, that's the issue. Like I can tell where the issue's at because the body started kicking it off. Right. And so like if you went through and you did the 7 layers, and they had like say a lung issue, when you work all the different layers, they're all going to expel, but the lungs would really expel. And so, okay, I have to treat the respiratory system. And you can even fine tune, like it's the lungs, it's the bronchioles, not so much the sinuses, but a little bit of the diaphragm. And then you can go through and fine tune it based on what presented itself.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so basically we're going back.
If you do it enough, if you work those 7 layers enough, and you're able to tap into intuition, you can call the disease of the body to the surface without having to evaluate. You just go, and it will present itself. It takes a while to develop that ability, though.
Okay. So
Yeah.
going back to intuition, so thinking about everything. So it's working all these things within myself to be able to bring something else when I'm doing healings. Yeah. Which is already a process that's been ongoing, which is pretty amazing. Okay. And then
And so like I
question.
just want to add one more thing, just because I don't know. So we do like, we look at the structure, like you remember the beginning of the generational healing. We did structure, then we did function, then we did the dynamics. And then shortly after that, like a month later, we did the auric programming. And then after that, we did a couple weekends ago or last weekend, whatever it was, the intuition and healing the past. Then there's the 7 rays, right? Then you have a little bit of element work, and then usually a particular chakra. And if for each of the 49, if you go from the structure and you go through that whole spectrum, what you're doing is you're spiritualizing your lower nature and you're opening up the pathway for transmissions to come internally and to also emanate transmissions. So you actually, how people say being a vessel, at one level you could say it's a vessel of light, but the more refined way is it's a transmission that comes in and then goes out and radiates out to either your person you're healing or the group that you're working with or whatever. And so the more that you work that full spectrum, it's opening up that pathway specific to that pathway. But eventually, if you work off 49, you just become this ball of transmission and you are spiritualizing your lower nature. And if you look at like what does that mean? Like in Buddhism, it's what they like the Dharma protectors, are usually like a Dharma protector is like the wrathful side of a great being. Like Yamantanka is a Dharma protector. They refer to him as the destroyer of death. And he's like the lower nature side of Manjushri, but it's that side of Manjushri has become enlightened. Like it's not just like his essence is, but like when he comes into form, that aspect of the lower nature that's associated with the form or being in a body, it's enlightened. Like it's not just the soul, but it's like anything that being touches. And so when you see the Dharma protectors, it's a symbolic representation of somebody who's not just enlightened their mind or their emotions, but they've enlightened or spiritualized their lower nature. And so in the Hindu tradition, you see like how Rama or Krishna is blue. Like that's a different way of showing the same thing. Like different traditions will show it in different ways. But it's, there's different levels of healing. The deepest level of healing is spiritualizing the lower nature. It ends all the suffering. I mean, it's literally what it means by ends the suffering. Like if you think about like, I got triggered, I got upset, or this person, I have this thing that I go back and forth with. All of that is usually very, very lower nature oriented. Your upper faculties come and go, okay, come on, little buddy, we got to resolve this, and let's do this and let's do that, and you try to heal it. But there's this lower part that's like a more of a chaotic part that you're constantly trying to bring order to. And in kind of new agey circles, they kind of like try to avoid that part. But when you go through and you keep doing these processes, I mean, it's the whole process of alchemy, is you're basically spiritualizing that lower nature. And not only does it break patterns in your life, like when things would come up that might trigger you, right? Like if you work this enough, it's like it doesn't even, it's like it's a non-issue. You almost just like watch it like TV, like, oh yeah, that used to be really upsetting. Oh, that's gone on in my family for generations. Oh, like, it doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's a karmic issue, you almost step away from it. And I had this very developed teacher one time, and I liked him because he was very self-aware and he had a potty mouth. Like I don't know, I kind of like that a little bit. And he said, at some point, all the karma things that people call karma and the karmic patterns, he goes, basically he used different words, but if you work intuition hard enough and long enough, it all just becomes a bunch of bullshit. It's just a bunch of, I think he said drama, like he said bullshit and then drama. And at first I was like, I don't know if I agree with that. But over a period of time, like it took me probably a decade to get what he meant. After about a decade of really like thinking about it, because I'm in my intellect. I'm like going, oh, I don't know about that. Like facts say this, facts say that. And after having a bunch of experiences, I see exactly what he's saying. I see exactly what he's saying. I don't know that I would have used those words, but because even when the karma comes up, you just go, let's just resolve this right now. Let's just, whatever this is, let's just resolve it. And it doesn't always work out that easy or that quickly, but the motivation and the attitude to like address it, because you see that it's a problem, is there, and it stops being like this and it becomes like this. it doesn't mean that bad things stop happening. They still happen, but your attitude about them changes dramatically. Dramatically. I mean, when I was young, I was a hot mess. I was a hot mess. I don't know that I'm stopped being a hot mess. Now I'm just a cool mess. But I don't know. Had I not been doing practices, I don't know that if I was left to my motivations when I was young, I don't even know that I'd be alive right now. Like I did not have, I don't know. I didn't have good direction when I was young. You know, some pulled me out of it, but it didn't start off well.
Yeah. Well, you, yeah, shifted in
Yeah.
the right timing. Okay, thank you. And then, oh, since Ralph, you mentioned, he talked about feet and all of that. What about varicose veins? When the veins are, you know, there are
Yeah,
different
so-
degrees of that.
Yeah, use like
Um,
things like cedar. Use cedar,
Ye-
but honestly, the thing that I like to use for varicose veins is uh I like to use a combination of gotu kola, horse chestnut, and horsetail, which is like a type of silica. It's a plant that's really rich in silica. And
is
so
that okay?
yeah, like you might be able to find somebody that has a formula of that. I can make it for you in a tincture. It would probably take me a week or two to pull off the extraction, but I can make that for you.
Okay.
But you could just get tinctures in the health food store and then mix them together, like if you wanted to do
I
that.
might have you met. That's actually, well, that's for me actually. And I'm already taking, like, I'm taking helichrysum, I'm taking um cypress. That's supposed to be good for circulation,
Yeah, cypress actually might
right?
help a bit,
But
but the thing
but
like
it's not, but
you need a
it's
venous tonic. Like you need something that's very toning to the veins, and uh cedar can be helpful. Cypress can be helpful. You might even want to put cypress directly on the area, but yeah, I like that. Maybe put cypress directly, like just a few drops, and then rub it on the area with the varicose vein. But gotu kola is a very strong venous tonic, and then the combination with the horse chestnut and the horsetail, it's very good for the veins. It's like very like strengthening and toning to the veins and helps the veins to function better. And so
yeah,
there
I
would
think at
be,
some point I had like orstal, but yeah, okay.
what's that?
No, I think at some point I used to take, I think orstal, but
Yeah,
in a
probably.
tincture. But
Yeah, probably.
the combination, but
The
it's easier
combination
if
of
you
the
would make the
three.
combination.
Yeah.
And so that, what is it
And then
supposed to
always
do? Really move the blood?
clean yeah, you clean the blood, but really clean the sex chakra, the perineum, and the basic chakra. You know, because the sex chakra and the perineum, like about 30% of the energy of the sex chakra goes into the legs, and the perineum, or the perineum, however you want to say it, is like the faucet of energy that runs down into the legs. And so anytime you have like a leg issue, you kind of always want to clean the sex chakra, just because it probably didn't like cause it, but if you clean that up, Like it's like you're getting a higher vibration energy like going down into the legs. And then if you clean the perineum, it just floods the legs with energy. And a lot of times it will stop the issues that might be happening, like the varicose veins. And then sometimes we'll even reverse some of the things that have happened. And so I mean, I would still do the other things, but that's the area that I would focus on as far as the energetic mechanics of what's happening is clean those up. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. And yeah, and I'll email you back.
The perineum can get really clogged up really super easy. Like if you have a bunch of stress, your body will start kicking it down into the earth. You get stuck there. You got something going on, somebody's being weird with you at work or wherever, it hits your energy field, your body tries to drop it into the earth. And so when you're doing meditation or a lot of healing or a lot of like shifting, part of what happens is you're displacing energy. So some of that is getting dropped down into the earth and it will get stuck. And so you'll notice like sometimes you'll feel like a little bit of pressure in your solar plexus and you'll I'm trying to resolve my solar plexus and it doesn't really resolve. It's usually the liver or the spine or the perineum or the perineum. And a lot of times it's the perineum because if it's clogged, it just starts backing up and you start to feel like energetically like kind of bloated in the area. And so you clean that up and it just drains out of the body. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Like check it, maybe not every day, but like just clean it up a little bit for like a couple of minutes. But I would check it like 3 or 4 times a week. I mean, literally I check mine every day, but
Mhm.
I have some leg issues. So like I constantly clean that because I want
So
healthy kind of going into my legs at all times, And so
and I mean, and I have an older lower back injury, which I never really put that much attention to, but it's probably still there. So it's kind of
low back very well could be
potentially.
psoriasis or the cleaning the perineum and the sex and the basic will definitely help that. The Ming men as well. The Ming men anytime like sex and Ming men for like psoas issues and cleaning up the low back, but also go to the site, wherever it is. That can also be helpful. Yeah.
And then when you're doing the perineum and the sex, you're just doing like regular green orange.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you even energize or just cleaning?
Yeah. I mean, if
Just
you want to go
cleaning.
deep, you could shoot a bunch of green up there, and then just pull it right back out.
Okay.
Like that's a trick. Like energize for like a couple of minutes, and then let it sit, and then just sweep it right back out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Chris, and then we have quite a few questions in chat as well.
Okay. Hey, Miss Chris.
Hello again.
Hey.
Greg, remember that situation I have with my brothers taking over the house?
Yeah.
So we've come to a point where we're going to meet with some attorneys tonight. Would that Dorje process that you mentioned to Ali help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
How's he been? I'm just curious.
Oh, same.
Same.
One day this, one day swearing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, but it's clear that
Yeah.
he's really not sincere about selling the house. He just wants to stay put there.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Mhm.
And just feel free again, guys, if you want to raise your hand in chat. Otherwise, I'm going to go to your questions here. The 2 spagyric tinctures you've put on, since they are tinctures, I assume we will take them internally.
Yes.
but how many drops at a time?
Do a dropper full.
And is there a particular time, like at meditation or something you're focusing on, or at bedtime?
I would do it either before meditation or the end of the day, or before bed. Yeah. I mean, you could do it during the day. I mean, I don't find them like, they don't make me non-functional, but they do make me a little bit more in the intuitive mode. But sometimes the intuitive mode in the workplace can be very innovative. And so I would say it's the kind of work, but like which one did I do today? I did the frankincense one, like about 1, and then I was like, that felt nice. And then I was like, I think I'm gonna do it again. And it was like 3, and like it felt really good on the brain. It felt really good on the brain. And so, there I was doing it midday. And tonight I'll probably do the lotus, So the spagyric, we've been talking about that for what, 5 years?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. But I always had a reason why. I'm like, oh, I don't know, like we'll put it out later. But we've been playing with it for a while, and we've been talking about it for about 5 years of like putting it up for you guys. But I'm just gonna go slow and like I have a bunch of other ones made, but we'll just do a little bit by little bit. But they're very interesting. It's different than working with a tincture. It's different than working with essential oils. Basically, like with spagyric, you deconstruct a bunch of things and then you put them back together in this process. So you use a lot of different kinds of extraction processes, and then you put it together in this particular process, and the process is a little bit involved, but it makes a completely different substance than what that substance was before. It's very harmonizing to the aspects of the soul and the body, or the essence and the form. But yeah, I find them incredibly soothing. We're going to be doing one of Melissa here pretty quick. That's probably the next one coming out, is a spagyric of Melissa. So like you can get the benefits of Melissa without having to buy, because Melissa, like I buy the highest quality that I can get. And so you'll get the benefit without having to do, the super expensive, small bottle. So
What does divine protection mean?
it's utilizing the aspects of the soul. Like sometimes you hear me I'm going back and forth between intellect and intuition, but there's something even past intuition. And so the aspect of that's beyond the intuition is basically the soul for all of us, like it gets broken down like light does, and so we have certain tendencies that are associated with the soul. But really, the more the soul gets realized, you're developing all the abilities, not just a particular set of tendencies. And so the more that you work these aspects, the more, for one, you're spiritualizing your lower nature. And two, when people or situations or negativity project or try to do harm to you, for one, you don't have the reaction, but two, at some point you start emanating out the light of the soul, and the soul literally like almost like pushes that energy away and helps like align you to stay out of the way of harm, and so it's the highest form of protection.
Will you put Greg's blend on the site.
Yeah, I just, boy, what should we call it? Yeah, yeah, we can put that on, and it's, I mean, the thing that's nice about it too, not super expensive. Like it's, they're all like inexpensive oils, and they work good, and yeah, we can easily put that up for him. What, psychological balance maybe, or psychological stamina? I don't know what to call it.
All right, guys, you're up. You always have good name ideas as well. Okay. So this is my first time joining any of your sessions. Super grateful to be here. And they wanted to make sure they could ask, like, you know, just any
anything goes.
questions.
Yeah, anything goes.
Okay.
Feel free.
So I'm gonna read, but if you want to unmute at any time, please, and you guys who have your hands raised, give me just a sec. Okay. I've heard so much about you. Somehow I ended up discovering human design on the Plant Prana website and just started that process. I'm currently on FMLA from work, and ended up with stress migraines, mild depression, obesity, all resulting from the stress at work in the past 18 months, and recurrent episodes of near scope blackouts. And I've been experiencing randomly since a motor vehicle incident in 2021. I don't wish to go back to the corporate world. How can I persuade my husband to let me practice healing and pursue healing and energy work as a full-time career? How can I integrate essential oils into my practice? Which class would you recommend to start with? I know there's a lot there.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that there's a few classes that you could start with that are free classes. Energetic mechanics and the nervous system would be one, which, you know, you'll be dealing with the nervous system and different aspects of energy anatomy. And even if you have no background in that, still will click usually for you. And then Revitalize and Thrive, which was that class at the end of December. The Three Brains, I can't remember what we called that, the Three Brains class, where it was the free one to the public.
Oh, that wasn't Revitalize and Thrive?
That was chords and materialization breath. And then like in January or February, we did.
Oh, Three Brains Deep Dive.
Yeah, Three Brains Deep Dive.
Thanks, Robert.
I would do that. You know, here this weekend, there's a class that we're going into the 7 layers of the aura, like it's the beginning of the deep dive of the aura, but like we kind of bounce around a bit. So that could be something, but there's some things there for free that you could jump on and start doing. And there's oil lists, like recommendations for oils that, you know, you might already have. So, you know, it'll say like pick an oil from each line so you can do the process. And so you can see what you have. And then, you know, the recordings are something that if you can't find them, Samantha can help you with that. And then, you know, we can get you the booklets, and it's probably better to follow it along with the recording, just because I'll explain it more than I usually do when I write. And so that could go well. And
that's a good place.
Yeah, that's a super good place to start. And I mean, if you want like something that's like really super basic, there is the top 20 essential oils. Remember that class from way back when? There's a decent sized little booklet, and again, it's another free one. Yeah. And then you always are welcome to shoot us emails, or, you know, join a Zoom like this and ask whatever questions. And, you know, we usually have at least one free class a week, or excuse me, a month. And then, you know, a class, once you've had a class, you get to review it for free after that. And so there's usually a review class for free. There's a study group for free. Every month there's always activities to be doing that, be it free or yeah, it depends on what you got going. But like the stress and everything, work on your breath. A couple weekends ago there was the plant prana technique for the respiratory system. That's a great place to start for unwinding stress and unwinding the breath and the diaphragm, basically unwinding the effects of stress. And so that would be a really super good place for you to start as well.
And yeah, if you'd like a one-on-one session with Greg, I'll put that information as well, so you can have access to doing that too.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Donita.
Hey, Miss Tonita.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
Good, but the reason I'm here, I had a crazy week last week, so I'm
Yes.
much better and things are calmer. However, so this breathing, I still feel like I have an elephant, and it's like I'm doing oils and cartica, or not even an elephant on my chest, kind of heart, back heart, solar plexus. I'm not quite sure. It's harder to breathe. It feels like and I'm not a pranic healer, I just feel it feels like a black hole in there, or like
Mhm.
something. It's like feels like a black hole through my chest. Or it just feels very, so I did cartica, I did oils, I'm breathing, I'm doing everything I do. I clean the spine with wood because that's all I have. I mean, I've got others, but it's easier. I clean my arms and the legs.
So, you have
And
like
I
pressure. Is it on your sternum? Like, are you having an issue with your sternum?
Like I can't take a deep breath in. It's like something is preventing me. It's like I cannot take a deep breath. It's like I really have to go like,
You have to really force the chest.
yes, yes.
So,
And it doesn't always help as well. So after cleaning it, it works, like it releases, and I can feel it in my back as well. I can feel it on my spine too, like the back of my heart. And I did even the hyssop, the Moses technique today with hyssop. And it
so,
yeah.
so on the sides, let me shoot you a picture.
It's been like this for a few days, on and off. And with that, it's like deep stuff coming up. That's what it feels like, deep stuff coming up.
Okay, I'm sending this to Samantha and she's going to post it.
Okay, thank you.
Hasn't quite come up. I'm gonna, as soon as it does though.
It's up.
It's up.
Okay, so you see that side view where that X is?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to put, do you have Paracelsus?
Yes.
Paracelsus and like an ointment, like a lotion or a massage oil or something, like 8-10 drops, and then rub it on one side, and then 8-10 drops, and then rub it on the other side. And so you can see it's not quite to where the shoulder blade is, but it's like if you kind of follow like where the nipple is and go to the side, it's kind of about there. And then just rub it on the side there. And so most likely that sounds like and when that trigger point gets activated, it inhibits the ability for the chest to expand. And so you don't get the rib cage to be able to expand. And the manifestation is like pressure on the chest, stitch in the side. You know how like if you've drank a bunch of water and then went for a run or a walk or something, you get that little stitch in the side.
Yeah, I
It
don't
can
have
ma-
that.
You can manifest as that. Uh, it can even like begin to ache a little bit on the backside, in and around the shoulder blade. And so I would say let's unwind the rib cage, especially that particular area. If you want to rub some of the Paracelsus on somewhere else, you could do that. But do that and then inhale like if you have trigger point blend, that would be great. But if you don't, use like ginger or cedar or even like helichrysum after you've put the ointment on. Like put the ointment on and then just start taking long, slow, deep breaths because we wanna deactivate that trigger point. And so well actually you have trigger point blend in your
But I have the oil.
okay, good. So
Can I
yeah.
use Paracelsus neat, or do I have to put it in oil?
Yeah, I mean you could, but you're wanting to cover a lot of ground. So even if you just put like a little tiny bit of massage oil or lotion in your hand and then rub it on, it will make it linger there longer. And I find that it actually is a little bit more effective when it's mixed with a little something for this particular issue. And so and then after that, do the inhalations and then let me know. Like let me know by tomorrow. Like if it's not resolving. You know, the other thing is like anything that you can do for your neck, like lantana or a little vetiver or something on the neck.
I'm smearing a lot of lantana because my
Yeah,
right side is
perfect.
affecting me,
Okay.
so I'm
But I think it's the serratus anterior is more the issue, most likely.
It feels like, you know, it's like I know I've never been stabbed, but it feels like I've got a massive something
Yeah.
through me, and it's through me.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Why do you think that just?
Because your lungs can't expand. Yeah.
But what caused it? Because normally I'm.
Could be coughing, could be stress, could be a lot of physical activity. Anytime you have exerted, you know, those trigger points could happen. But stress, poor sleep, yeah, a whole range of things can happen.
Oh yeah, basically they're everything.
Yeah.
Living in the modern world.
Right.
Okay.
Waking up, walking around, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
I'll do that. I'll let you know.
But let me know like within 24 hours.
Okay. And then you can, okay. Because it's also coming up like visuals and just patterns and just it's very, I don't even know how to explain it. You know, it's like emotions coming up. So something is happening, but not sure what exactly. So I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sam, can you post the photo, please?
Oh, I put the link in there, but I'll repost it.
Oh,
Got it.
okay.
So
Thank
it's
you.
right
Thank
there. You bet.
Thank you.
And go ahead, Denise.
Hey, Denise.
Hi, Greg.
Hey.
Do you think you could check on my tooth that was extracted with the bone graft? Because I feel like I need to do something, maybe one of the oils.
How long ago was that done?
I'm sorry.
How long ago did that happen? Like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was on the May 1st.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you at first.
Do you have some cypress?
I do.
Let's have you just go pretty heavy on the cypress. Like you could rub some on the area and then like from time to time gargle with it.
Okay.
You know, I also like the idea of taking several drops of cypress and then rubbing it on the roof of the mouth. Just because you're moving like accumulations and like the gums and the roof of the mouth, and you're just like cleaning things up lymphatically and detoxifying that area. You could also rotate some marjoram in and around the area. Just it will take some tension out, but it will help like bones heal faster, bone and muscle heal faster. So rotate between the two.
And put the marjoram at the roof of my mouth as well.
Yeah, like if
Or-
you can handle like touching it to your gums and things, you could do that, or like along the like if you go inside the lining of your like your lip where it
Yeah.
touches the gums, like you can kind of rub it in that way. You could do that.
And I've been using a little bit of bay laurel on the roof of my mouth.
Oh yeah, tremendous. Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
bay laurel is amazing for the mouth.
Yeah, you said, and
Yeah.
it's been a good friend. It has many uses, bay laurel.
Yeah.
It must be in the top 20 that you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
Thank you for
I was
your
just
help.
reconfiguring my little like personal travel case, and bay laurel definitely made the cut.
I think we have to know what's in that case, because every so often you talk about it,
Yeah.
and I think it goes with Greg's blend. We have to know
Yeah.
what's in that case. So that when
It's,
you have
it's a
it,
lot of things that we talk about all the time. I got some helichrysum, got some marjoram, got some bay laurel, got some cypress. Let's see, what else? The pain soothe, the nerve help, a little galbanum. Oh yeah, big thing of Melissa. Melissa,
that has to be a purchase, a good purchase I made there.
yeah, there was something else too. I'm reconfiguring it, so I like it was getting too big, so I had to like go, okay, what's really gonna make the cut? So
Thank you so much.
maybe
You'll
next Tuesday I'll let you know what's in that kit.
we'll tune in for that for
Yeah.
sure. Thank you so much.
Tuberose, aloes.
Yeah. Two rows and owls might be in there too.
How long is good / safe to take lactic acid flush internally?
Oh, you could do it daily. Yeah.
I've been doing it for about 10 days now. Should I keep doing it?
Yeah, keep doing it. I mean, the thing that will happen sometimes is you might feel a little tired afterwards, but it's because your body's going into rest and repair mode. And so if you're taking it and it's being well tolerated, boy, have at it. Yeah.
It was almost unanimous. The name of the oil should be Greg's blend.
For the degenerating mind. We might just have to do that.
Oh my gosh. All right. I know I'm missing one at least in here. Oh, back to the attachments. How are these oils to be used for the attachments?
In those patterns. So for the attachments, you would go sex, back heart, back throat, crown.
I just missed somebody's hand who was raised, unless that happened to be your question. Feel free to unmute yourself. Yeah, Cindy, go ahead.
Okay, Cindy.
Hey, I had a question. It was actually something that happened a couple months ago, but it got me thinking. So my grandson had gotten into his brother's seizure medication, and then it was quite an ordeal being ambulance and taken to the children's hospital and everything. So there I don't believe there's anything oil wise to do for it, but from the pranic healing standpoint, I was just trying to lightly treat it because he's only not even 2 yet, as just light cleansing, because it felt like so it got me thinking, like, we really don't talk about how to treat something toxic or a poisoning. Is there any thoughts on that?
Basil is used traditionally to treat like food poisoning or like exposures to toxic things, but I mean, the rule of thumb, like with something like that, even if you're not sure if they swallow them, is make them throw up. I mean,
Right.
yeah, like that's like I would say before anything, I'd make the child throw up somehow. You know, they used to sell stuff. I think they still do. Is it
It's called syrup of
Yeah.
ipecac.
Ipecac? Right? Yeah. Is it Ipecac? Is that how you say it? IPECAC or something like that. Yeah,
Right.
just keep some of that around until that kid is well into his 30s, and then
Well,
and but like you know, with a dog you can use a little bit of hydrogen peroxide and put it in their mouth and they'll throw but I don't do that with humans.
no, I was thinking specifically because this one was a neurotoxin, basically, because
Yeah,
it's seizure medication.
right.
And he definitely got in it, and everything was protocols were followed, of course, is making him throw up and countering it with anti-seizure medication, would you put it? So it just made me think about
Usually basil, like basil would be the thing to use. Yeah.
clearing that out of his energy field. And I
Helping the
think,
body not be as reactive, and it helps the body deal with
Yeah.
like the toxic material. And I mean, sometimes even like snake bites and spider bites and things like that are real bad. One time I got bit by a black widow, and I
Oh,
didn't
wow.
know it. I didn't know it, but I used a bunch of golden seal, and I didn't have any basil, so I used a bunch of golden seal, and I was sick for a while, and then I saw the bite. The black widow had gone into my bed, and I'd been traveling for about 2 months, and I came back and I was tired, and I just jumped into bed, and in that 2 months being gone, a black widow had gone into the bed, and for that I used a potato. Like I just went, had a potato that I cut and then used it to draw things out. But when it's internal, you got to get the basil like into them internally. Yeah.
Thanks. And I
like if it's topical and you need to, tea tree can be drawing as well if it's a topical thing to try to
Yeah.
extract out. Yeah.
I've actually used that and mixed it with was it baking soda instead
yeah.
of baking soda and water. I mixed tea tree
Yeah.
oil in that. Yeah. And I'm about to put your Uncle Bob's to the test.
Oh, good.
Protocol to the test.
Right.
Yeah. Going
Oh,
up with my daughter's graduating from NYU Thursday, but so we're all going up, and the ex and the whole family. So
yeah, start smelling it now.
I totally am. Anyway,
So we got
thank
to
you.
jump over to the Astara prayer blessing. So if you want to join us for that, please do. And if not, for the ORIC programming, we have a study group tomorrow night. And if not, I think I see a bunch of you for the Sandalphon class this weekend. It's a review for a lot of you. So